Jalen Williams is a name that you better start getting used to. With averages of 19, 4, and 4, I know the box score won't tell you he's some elite player, but there are so many different layers to his game that allow him to make an all-star type of impact on the 1 seed and suggest his ceiling is actually a lot higher than what we had initially anticipated. Playing next to one of the best shot creators in the NBA, he's obviously going to spend a lot of time away from the ball. In these spots, he's a really smart mover. Watch him here, just kind of floating towards the baseline as Shai starts his attack, then once that pressure is applied, he darts backdoor for an easy catch and finish. He's really good at reading the defense to set himself up for high quality opportunities. This time they're running some set action, and instead of using a cross screen, he rejects it on a cut, which once again leads to free points. Sometimes they'll even use him as a ball screener. More often than not, Shai is going to draw 2 to the ball, so by quickly slipping, he's left with a ton of room to turn into a jumper. Most of his time away from the ball though is spent out on the perimeter. Shai's in a tough spot, and you can see J-Dub relocating to make himself an available target before immediately putting it down on a drive as he gets to the rim for a layup. Typically when he's on the perimeter, he's spacing the floor as a shooter. Here you see him spotted up 1 pass away from Shai, so when his man sinks to the nail to help on a drive, it's a real basic kick to the wing for a knockdown jumper. On the season, he's attempting about 2 catch and shoot threes a game and hitting an impressive 46% of them. Leave him open and you're just asking to be punished. However, it is still somewhat of a small sample, so if you also include last season, well, he still made over 40%. That's some great offense. As a result, he demands closeouts when playing off the catch, which opens up probably his best attribute as a player, the slashing. He's really good at reading closeouts and perfectly timing up his attack to beat them off the dribble, then when help comes, he goes to a floater over the top. Here's the thing though, J-Dub's ability to drive the basketball doesn't just come as a result of playing off the catch or attacking aggressive closeouts. He's more than capable of creating advantages himself. He's not a guy who's going to pop off the screen as an athlete. You won't find that explosive first step to leave defenders in the dust, or some high-flying vertical finishes around the rim, but what he lacks in explosiveness, he makes up for with 2 key traits, strength and length. This is a good example of what I mean. He starts a drive, gets cut off completely, then throws that defender off of him with the shoulder. When help comes, he uses his length to find a finishing angle. Despite standing 6'5", the dude's got an outlandish 7'2" wingspan, meaning that if he gets just a fraction of a step by his defender's hip, the advantage is already won. And he's pretty good at setting up these drives with his handle. You've got a left-hand hezi that he throws right back between his legs to start on a drive right, and like I said, just that step is all he needs to get a layup. Sometimes it feels like J-Dub's length is a sort of cheat code for him. First, you've got him using the between the legs dribble to start his attack. I also want you to notice his use of the off arm to shield the defender, and then 1 huge stride as he gets ready to finish. What I'm really focused on is the angle of this layup. The opportunity just simply wouldn't exist without freakishly long arms. The length of his strides also gives him access to some really nice counters. Like here, he starts a drive left, gets cut off, and a quick spin back to his right leaves him with an easy 2. Or how about this one, where his initial angle gets taken away, so he quickly redirects by going behind his back, which gives him that 1 step before countering help with a floater. He really likes going to that behind the back move as a way to quickly cut into a new driving lane, and it's almost shocking how he's able to keep it on a string like that despite having those long arms. The development of his handle is something nobody really projected coming out of college, and it takes his ceiling to an entirely different level. No advantage on the first attack, but with a redirect he gets all the way to the rim, which collapses the defense and leaves Chet Holmgren wide open for a corner 3. Here's another example. Off of movement, his momentum's going right, which he shifts with that signature move. Then when he gets cut off again, it's one of those shoulder bumps, this time to set up a mid-range jumper. The advancement in his handle has opened up a new world of opportunity with the in-between game. He's comfortable taking that dribble through nail help, then hesitates at the elbow to fake out Looney, only to continue driving and drift into a baseline J. Mid-range jumpers are a great option for him to fall back on anytime he can't get to the rim. Here's one of those drives that gets cut off, but instead of a redirect, he's going to drop that shoulder for a quick stop and pop. And these bump middies have become a staple in his attack. Even against bigger defenders, he's strong enough to create separation where he showcases some pretty impressive shot making. On the season, he's attempting 7 mid-range shots every 75 possessions and hitting over 48% of them. Both of those marks land above the 80th percentile, so we're talking about a really good in-between scorer here. And his use of the mid-range game really stands out when he's running pick and roll. If he's met with drop coverage, that's an automatic pull-up jumper. But as soon as that big steps out to take away the shot, he's patiently waiting for his roller to free up for a lob. I absolutely love how he uses pace to attack off of screens. Note the slow left-hand hesitation as he reads the defense, and as soon as he sees a lane, he's attacking downhill. Then when he draws help, it's another lob to Holmgren. When there isn't a lane to quickly attack like that, you'll see him slow it down and play with a bit more patience, getting a defender on his hip and pausing. Then once that lane is clear, it's right back to his high-level slashing. Those two key traits that I keep going back to, the strength and length, make defending J-Dub from his hip nearly impossible. In most cases, there isn't a lane here. Burks is sitting on his left, help is right in front of him, but by clearing out space with the inside shoulder and taking a long stride, he's got himself a layup. This season, he's averaging over 6 points a game in the pick and roll, with an impressive 1.03 points per possession. Good for the 89th percentile, so it's not like he's just good for the occasional ball screen. This is a legit weapon in OKC's offense. And like they often do for Shea, sometimes it'll be a guard setting these screens for him. By threatening the drive, he draws 2, leaving his MVP candidate of a teammate on an island for 3. J-Dub's inside the arc package is clear. The slashing, mid-range scoring, and playmaking all really stand out, especially for a second-year player. And that really only leaves one other thing for us to talk about, his off-the-dribble three-point shooting. This is one of those skills that can make or break a ceiling because it could completely change the type of coverage you receive out in space. I think J-Dub's looked a lot more comfortable going to these when given room this season. Here you see the hezzy pull. Most of these opportunities come after a left-hand step back though. The big sags off of him just a little bit, and it's that pound dribble as he hops back, which leaves him with a great look from deep. He's only attempting a little over 1 of these a game, but when he has taken them, he's made almost 44%. So it's tough to wrap my head around because the percentage is there, but we're still looking at a pretty small sample. What I will say is that when you include his rookie year, that number's over 40%, meaning we're starting to get some decent indicators, although I do still want to see it sustained over a longer period of time. With that said, the makings of a serious on-ball creator are there, and he's got the off-ball skill set to play the role of a number 2 or number 3 on the 1 seed. And due to that shiftability in play style, I really do wonder how he's still so under-discussed. Just to really highlight what I'm talking about, let's take a look at his numbers on the season when he's playing both with and without Shea. With Shea on the floor, you can see that he's scoring an efficient 19 points every 75 possessions, picking up some assists while not turning the ball over, and both his rim and free throw volume are slightly above average. Now with Shea off the floor, that statistical signal changes drastically. We're talking about some serious volume numbers. The points, assists, and turnovers all suggest an increase in offensive load, as do the added rim and free throw attempts. These are the type of numbers you expect from an all-star. What jumps out most to me though is the efficiency. He's still over 61% true shooting. It's worth noting that these are smaller stints, and a lot of the minutes do come against bench units, so I'm not saying he'd be an efficient 26-6 guy on his own team. All I'm saying is the data points to him being capable of taking on the load of a primary creator when needed, which is a really similar signal to what we saw with Jalen Brunson right before he went to the Knicks, and James Harden right before he went to the Rockets. So I ask all of you J-Dub doubters, why not? What is it in his game that suggests to you he isn't capable of being a number 1 or shouldn't be compared to other primary creators? Is it the questionable sample of pull-up three-point shooting? Is it the lack of elite, explosive athletic traits? Because if you ask me, I see a high-level offensive number 2 with every skill you'd want playing off of Shai that can also greatly improve the bench units by imitating a number 1. I won't go in depth on the defense here, but his switchability, the way he uses his length as a disruptor, among some other qualities, really do feel like positive attributes to one of the league's top defensive teams. So when you put it all together, I feel pretty confident saying he's either an all-star level player or right there. And I know he came into the league a bit older, but this guy's a sophomore. If you haven't bought as much J-Dub stock as you can, I'd suggest doing so right now. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of J-Dub. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.